Chapter 840, Masky Boy Mayhem! Hello everyone and welcome to the new episode of the Podcast. We've returned to our regularly scheduled programming on the high seas where you can't seize me's, or my friend Hippocrit.
Hello.
And this was chapter 840, Iron Mask. And there was some fucking bombshells in this chapter. Things I've been waiting for a long time.
And it turns out we called some of what happened from last time.
The level of calling it that we did in our last video into this one is on another fucking level. I only wish that we had gotten the video out sooner so people could be even more impressed by how smart boys we are.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just start from the beginning because there's a million things that happen in this chapter. So first of all, we do have confirmation that those are clones. Those are 100% clones in that fucking liquid gel.
Yep.
Aloe vera.
They're all the same guy, except the guys who aren't the same guy.
They're all cloned from a bunch of really strong main guys, bunch of dudes.
One thing that was interesting about that is the fact that the clones don't know that they're clones, which is kind of odd because, like,
are we sure about that?
Well, they said
have
that.
We asked? Did they?
They said something like. Of course,
you're right.
None of the soldiers themselves are actually aware of this fact, so I think they just think they're all like really stupidly similar to each other for no particular reason, which is funny.
Probably. I mean, since they're all genetically engineered anyway, they might have just been able to kind of, sort of play down their, curious tendencies, their critical thinking skills. I mean, maybe that's a little too complex for, what you can do fucking around with genes, but possibly. But they're certainly not, they're just raised to be soldiers from the ground up, to be the best soldiers, and not to think about anything.
Yeah.
So it's shit's fucking crazy. Okay, so clones, right? That's very strange for One Piece. And remember how we were joking last time about how, like, isn't it funny that there's, like, only ever, like, one scientist in One Piece, and like one guy's involved with every fucking major event, and it's always Vegapunk.
Yeah.
Vegapunk did everything.
And
We're like,
just
there's
so
no way he did it again.
Also
but of
here.
course, he did it again. He was responsible once again.
Well, he was a partner with what's his face, Josh, or his father.
They had a whole Manhattan Project thing going on, which is really cool. And yeah, like we've got a new super genius, and it's Vinsmoke Judge, who's also a strong boy who beat up Sanji. Well, by killing a dude, but still, it was really cool. So this guy's like a super genius too, and they said specifically, this was fucking fascinating to me. So they talked about Yonji is lecturing Sanji on how they've cracked, there was a specific word they used for it that I wrote down. Hang on.
Equation?
The lineage factor. Lineage factor. And in the picture, they clearly show DNA. So they're talking about DNA when they say lineage factor. Like, it's the source of life. It's the blueprint of life that allows them to, they can manipulate to do stuff. I just thought it was really cool how Oda refers to, DNA, something everyone knows about, as a different name in One Piece versus the real world. Because, like, their science is way further behind ours for the most part, and it's kind of like a different.
It's kind of weirdly behind ours, like in a, like things like I think it's the what are the snails called? Like the ones that are
Dendenmushi.
Well, the ones that are phones are called Dendenmushi, but like all the other ones that are used for different things, like those snails probably just naturally exist, and they're only altered a little bit to be like used as all these engineering things, so like actual science and making stuff up from nothing is like way behind the times, even though they have all this futuristic like broadcasting technology.
That is true, but it makes sense in a world like One Piece, where okay, there are just these snails that work like phones or TVs or whatever. Like they just do that, and given that, just aside from those, they're just basically in the the 1600s, like the 1500s or whatever. Like they're just a ways back in technology from where we are. Except there happen to be guys like Vegapunk who are just like so shonen level smart that they can just, they're cooking up DNA, they're cooking up clones, they're doing, like laser beams and shit. So, like, for the most part, it seems like the One Piece world is consistent, and that, like, technology on the whole is back a ways. But it's also kind of, because the One Piece world is broken up into so many individual islands that are separated by each other by all these crazy natural phenomenon, it also makes sense to me why there'd be places like, like that, just places that are more technologically advanced versus a place like, the place Kalgara was from. Like, actually, I guess that was hundreds of years ago. Whatever. One Piece is crazy. Technology's old, but some of it's fast because Vegapunk is there.
Yeah.
But what I thought was cool was that, so Vegapunk worked with the whole team, including Vinsmoke Judge. So they discovered DNA, but it specifically said, and I was curious about this, Vegapunk himself, because I've had suspicions about what role Vegapunk is going to play. And so Vegapunk had nothing to do with inventing actual clones. That was something that Judge himself went off once the project was canceled to do, like, alone. Like, he himself took the DNA knowledge stuff, came up with cloning, and made his clone army. Vegapunk had nothing to do with that. And that makes me think, in addition to lots of stuff we've seen before, Vegapunk's going to be a big good guy when we finally meet him way down the line. And, like, even more interesting... go ahead.
I mean, the most obvious thing is, like, the idea that he gave Kuma his last wish to protect the One Piece guy's ship. So I've always felt like he's like he's working with the Marines because he has no other choice.
And we got a big hint about that this chapter when they said that, like, after this Manhattan Project thing was broken up, the government arrested Vegapunk. Yeah. And so he was fucking locked away. I mean, who knows how long? We don't know what kind of deal they worked out, but that right there is a big hint about his motivations and you know, what kind of a dude. Oh my god, who the fuck is Vegapunk? I want to know so bad. And also, by the way,
I always picture Vegeta because it sounds like, it looks like
I hope it's just Vegeta. That would be
with a mohawk this time.
Maybe he's like, man, he could be anything. He could be a little lolly. He could be I don't even know if we know for sure he's a man. You don't know that. You don't know that.
He's like, he should be a few years older than a lolly.
Well, whatever. You don't know. He could science himself a lolly, man. He's the smartest man who's ever fucking lived.
You're right. He could be just he could be a brain in a jar with lots of different bodies.
It's totally possible. And by the way, I was going to say that another good thing Vegapunk did was his icy island where he grew up. Like, he made them a bunch of technology to, like, survive there and stuff. So, like, he's a good guy. He helps out his community. But, okay, anyway. So, this is, like, God, this was already a fucking mind blow. The idea of genetic manipulation in One Piece. It's now canon. Clones are real. They're among us. They're out there. Huge deal. So that's just, like, politically huge deal. Okay, so
after that,
the next massive thing, Sanji and his boys and the dudes. Okay, so we said they were clones, and the chapter was very clear. They are not
They're
clones.
not clones because they both have a mother and what was the thing the guy said? He said he altered their DNA, their genetics.
They are genetically enhanced Ubermenschen.
So they're just enhanced. So they're actually
incidentally,
related.
Which is another, like, genetic manipulation was another thing the Germans, the Nazis, had a lot of interest in, by the way.
Yeah, because Captain America, you know? It's true, it's all real.
They used gamma radiation, which probably affects your genes. I don't know. Whatever. But, yeah. So basically, everything we said about how, like, they were more or less clones. They're genetically engineered super soldiers. But... So the whole, him, you know, Reiju, Ichi, Niji, Sanji, and Yonji, all genetically enhanced Ubermensches. But fucking Sanji, exactly as we predicted, is defective. And in this case, defective means a normal human, according to that doctor man. Holy shit.
There was one thing
I can't believe
it is pretty interesting that we got it like that. But there's one thing the old scientist guy said in the
Vegapunk, dude. We're the smartest boys on the Seven Seas.
Not that guy. The guy in the flashback, the guy got the clipboard and he's talking about
that guy. Mm-hmm.
He's saying, on paper, all 4 of their genes were in fact successfully modified.
Right.
But for some inexplicable reason, Sanji's not working.
Right.
I think that could be an indication that Sanji could, at some point, suddenly get those powers or, like, become stronger in that way. That's what I've heard people being, like, rumoring about. I'm not sure whether that's, like, a good idea.
Okay,
But it's possible.
I have a few notes I took about that, and I definitely want to talk about that. But let's just come back to that after we get through the rest of the events of the chapter, because we will certainly discuss that more. Okay, and as you said, we also learned, just dropped casually, Sanji. Okay, so here's the thing: they talked about Sanji's mom. It was referenced a couple times about how, like, your father, produced you as normal kids. Like, your mom is real, and they dropped the bomb. Sanji, quit cooking things. Your mom's dead. Forget her legacy of cooking. Forget about cooking, dog.
I'm glad you picked up on that, because if you didn't, I was going to tell you off.
How could I not pick up on that? I'm the smartest One Piece boy.
It's essentially proven that his mother is the result. Is the reason that he likes to cook.
There's no doubt about it anymore. We are going to get another flashback any fucking day now.
I'm guessing.
It's coming.
I'm guessing when it comes like down to the wire, where like Sanji's about to fight his father or something, like one of his brothers or something. Then we'll have a flashback showing his mother and what happened to her. I can imagine what would happen. Is like Judge told Sanji that his mother died from something, but it could have been that he killed her, and he will reveal that in a crucial moment, and Sanji will be like, "What? You killed her? I'll kill you even harder." It's one of those big, "Oh my God, really?" But you could totally see it coming.
I've got some crazy ideas about what this could be. So first of all, thought here was, okay, right, the mom was, maybe brutalized by the lifestyle of the Garma Kingdom. That made an impression on him. He loved her, they cooked, and it was all great and awesome. And then, everything would play out as we have previously theorized. But there's a very different possibility for how this thing has gone. So, okay, these guys are all North Blue guys, right? They're from the North Blue.
Yeah.
And that is where Liar Norland is famous. That's where Liar Norland is from.
That's true. That's what Sanji knew.
Right. So, okay, call me crazy, but is it not possible? So, okay, we know that they're genetically engineered super soldiers. That's a fact. We have not actually seen confirmation that his mother really existed. All we've heard so far is a couple references to how Judge fucked. He had a twinkle in his eye, and that became his kids later, is what Yonji said at the beginning of the chapter. And then later, we see into that flashback when Judge says, "Your mother's, forget her legacy. Let's just be a soldier now. Just do that shit." So what I'm trying to say is, we don't have any actual confirmation that this mother figure ever existed. Is it not possible that Judge kind of came up with a mother character who isn't real, just to sort of comfort his children, to make them think that they were normal? And is it possible there is no mother? And Sanji... Okay, right. just picture this. Sanji's whole dedication to the cooking arts is based on what we've just discovered, this reverence for his mother. That's where the seed came from, and he's based his whole fucking life around it.
I find it hard to believe.
North Blue man is full of liars. North Blue is liar central. What would he fucking do if it turns out his whole life was based on bullshit that his dad fed him when he was just a little child to keep him in line?
What if? There. Liar Norland was like a legend, a myth, like it was hundreds of years ago, and it's a children's story to, like, prevent kids from lying, to show that if you're a liar, you get executed. Like, there's no reason that would mean there's more lies in North Blue than anywhere else.
Okay, I'll admit that one's very tenuous. I don't know, dude. This theory seems like it could be real. They're fucking genetic monsters, man.
I don't see why he would make up a story about the mother and then have the story of the mother say, yeah, your mother used to cook, and then Sanji's like, oh, cool, cooking. It's like, no, I don't want you to like cooking. I just said that as a joke.
I'll admit that this theory is predicated on one idea that might be far-fetched, and it's that the Judge Man has something of a soft side, and my suspicion, this is in the theory, is that he's being shown to be a real hard ass right now, so that later on it can be revealed. I mean, if this theory is true, it would be revealed that he has a little bit of a soft spot, and like he came up with this idea of like a mom, a fictional mother character, and like told Sanji about it in a moment of, you know, like compassion for his kid who was getting fucked up. It's obviously that seems far-fetched, but
all right, I'll tell you
fun
what
to think
sounds
about.
a little bit more likely. If he does have a soft spot, it's the soft spot that he had for his wife before she died, and since she's died, he's just sort of become less nice and evil and
very possible. Just like Tywin Lannister, you know, the guy.
It's always back to Tywin. He's
right.
Clear influence on the older man.
It really does seem that way. Especially, I thought that, like, I was reading this chapter and was thinking, you know, a political marriage is very Game of Thronesy. I wonder if Oda really is being influenced by Game of Thrones. I mean, I don't know if he knows the series. And I know it's a common thing, but it's like the most popular series in the world, besides One Piece, of course.
I'm sure he'd enjoy it, something like that.
Yeah, it's just this is sort of a different tack from a normal One Piece story. And I don't know, like there's a bunch of comparisons there. I'm not saying there's anything wrong. I'm saying it's cool. I'm just theorizing perhaps there's some Game of Thrones influence going on.
You know,
in the
you were
story
talking about like Lyra Norland. What was the name of the other guy? Like
Montblanc Cricket?
No, the sky guy with the big long hair. Calgary, yeah, that's the guy.
Coolest guy
Vinsmoke
ever.
Judge's hair looks kind of like Calgary's hair.
True.
I don't know.
The comparisons. They're there.
There's the clue. There's the blues clue. We found it.
Yes. Yes, agreed. So, I was going to say something. Oh, you know what else we saw? We finally saw that fucking rat that's been referenced
yes, it
repeatedly.
Wasn't actually
so it is a real rat. It's a real
rat,
rat, which makes sense, and I get it now.
It's funny. It's funny. I like the bit where it's like Sanji's like, "It tastes good, doesn't it?" And the rat's like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Yeah, I think the rat isn't like a pet. It's just like, holy shit, this guy keeps leaving food for me, but I'm scared of him because he's big, and he'll kill me because he's a big human boy. He was...
And then he was thrown out the window and died. Well,
Sanji is the coolest. Sanji,
maybe he didn't die. Maybe the rat will come back.
The rat will be back. He's still around. He ate the live forever fruit.
Yes.
Oh my god, it's fucking insane. Jesus Christ. I think there was another point I wanted to make in there, but whatever. If I remember it, I'll come back
you might
to
want
it.
to talk about the short battle they had before the flashback with Henry Needle. You know, that attack was pretty interesting.
Oh, by the way, I was wrong. The girl does not, in fact, have normal Perona eyes. Those were her. She was spooked in one panel, and her eyes looked like Perona eyes.
Yeah, I didn't know what you were talking about.
In fact, has normal
there.
Nami
I just sort of
eyes.
went with it.
Perona has very distinct eyes, but whatever, I was wrong. Okay, anyway, Sanji's, whatever, after getting explained all this science shit by Yonji, Niji walks in, Sanji kicks him in the face, he's like, ow, and then they threaten Sanji, like, hey, we're gonna kill that dude if you fuck with us, and he's like, oh, I forgot, and then they beat him up. They shock him. They do a Henry Needle or something, which I don't know what it means, but it's
I think
cool.
Henry Needle might, I mean, it looks like an electric attack, it might be like some good old Victorian guy that I can't remember the name of.
I was kind of thinking that Henry Electronics might be like an old, like, fucking 18th century electronics company.
It may be named after
I don't know.
Old Victorian scientist guy.
It feels like that.
Yeah.
It's something like that. I don't know. Anyway, Sanji gets his shit kicked in, and it was brutal. But,
What's the girl's name again?
Cosette.
The sister.
Oh, Reiju.
Reiju. So we learn
another
here
development
that Reiju,
about her. Mm-hmm.
She doesn't actually hate Sanji. She just laughs along with the others so that she doesn't get bullied.
That is correct.
And one thing I want to point out, I don't know whether this means anything, but when the guy is saying all the genes were successfully modified, he's talking about all 4 of them. So he's talking about the boys.
Right.
He's not necessarily talking about her. So I don't know whether she has the power.
It's a little strange because she was clearly training with all of them. I don't know. I kind of want to read another translation because I feel like they
I've only found one translation
of this. It was a little unclear what was going on there, but I mean, I interpreted that to mean Vinsmoke, Judge doesn't really care about the girl, which is pretty common for like patriarchal dudes like that.
Or it could be that we've made a mistake and all 4 of their genes were in fact successfully modified. It refers to the 4 that are doing well And then
But that wouldn't make
Sanji's
any
is-
sense because Judge was really disappointed. Like, why would he be surprised if the one he didn't modify was unmodified?
Yeah,
it
I
seems
guess.
to me, it seems like he was just a failure of an experiment, and that's why his eyebrows are the wrong
why
way.
the
That's the source of their
girl?
power. I don't know.
I do hope
they
that
just
if
don't
she,
like
if
it.
I do hope that if she has like power like them, that at some point she'll reveal, like if the battle seems to be going in Sanji's favor, and she'll switch sides and help him or something.
Well, I mean,
take his handcuffs off at the very least. Get him going.
It seemed pretty clear she definitely has a relatively close amount of power to the other successful dudes, because you could see in that flashback she
Yeah.
was keeping up with everybody and Sanji was lagging behind, and like that's all their power is. They're just strong. I don't know, maybe smarter. I don't know if he would get into that territory, making them super smart, but they seem like stronger,
they don't
faster,
seem that
better.
Smart. They seem
Yeah.
kind of like
With
brutes.
hair like that, I don't think so. Oh, bam! Suck my dick.
But yeah, what
Yeah.
happens near the end of the chapter is that they're realizing Sanji has no potential, and fuck him, just pretend he's dead, tell everyone he's dead, and lock him away forever. And I think it's implied that his sister releases him somehow and lets him run away.
I would say that's quite likely. That's probably what's going to happen.
Yeah, and it's
And
really
you know-
fucking terrifying, like the idea of putting a mask on him and putting him in a goddamn cage in the bottom, saying, "Yeah, your father just wants you to never exist. Goodbye."
Yeah. So first of all, it is in fact devastating that they hold a big funeral. They're just like, you're done. We don't want you. We want you gone. So God, just the idea of having an iron mask locked onto your head is like viscerally horrifying to me.
Yeah, I think it used to be like a torture device in the Tower of London. I can't remember correctly, but I think I've heard of that as an actual real thing.
It's a real thing, all right. So this chapter was called Iron Mask, so obviously it's a big deal. But the thing is, so in another tremendous parallel to French society, so the Iron Mask, and specifically the man in the Iron Mask, is a historical figure from French. I don't want to say
That's
folklore,
what it
because I'm pretty
was.
sure he was real. Yeah, he's a real dude. And there's been theories for many years as to who he is, but a popular one in pop culture was that he was the illegitimate elder son of like Louis XIV, I think, and so was like wasn't the true heir, quote unquote, but was a potential rival to Henry XV. I might be fucking up the numbers, but it's one of those. And so, like, for his whole life, because he looked identical to the emperor or something, they fucking locked this iron mask on him, left him in like prison for his like entire life.
I remember the man in the iron mask from some weird like Musketeers cartoon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was like
Crazy.
a
Another French cartoon.
political friend. Oh, I don't know whether it was French. It might have been English, but the Three Musketeers
The Three
and there's the
Musketeers
man
are
in the
French,
iron
though.
mask. Are they? Okay, well it all makes sense then. It was really cool, but I never really looked into the lore the legend beyond that.
But this whole thing really makes me think. All these like connections to like France and like, so the man in the iron mask is like, they thought he was a prince. Like that's the story, that he was like a prince, or an heir to a potential heir to the throne, essentially a prince. And Sanji is a prince of the Garma 66, Garma Kingdom or whatever. But like it makes me think back to like, remember when Sanji in the Alabasta saga was Mr. Prince? So kind of we were given hints all the way back there, and all along his whole time in One Piece, he's been a guy whose face was like always hidden from sight. He was always kind of behind the scenes on the world stage. His poster was always had to be drawn because he was never around. He would always go off and do secret side missions while other people were taking the spotlight. And incidentally, he met Iron Mask Duval. Is that a coincidence?
Oh.
Iron fucking Mask Duval. So, like, did Oda plan all of this? What's the story here, Oda? How much of this did you plan?
I think
it
he
works
must
so
have,
perfectly.
He must have planned it at least before he made the Mr. Prince reference. But I don't think
All I wanna know-
right at the very beginning. I'm not sure.
All I want to know is when Oda was thinking up the character of Sanji, who, by the way, is based on Steve Buscemi from Reservoir Dogs, was he imagining Steve Buscemi as a prince? Like, hey, what the fuck, man? I'm fucking Steve Buscemi, and I'm a prince of Gamma Kingdom. I cook guys, and I like sexy girls. The thought seems incompatible to me. So I am of the opinion that he came up with it when he came up with Mr. Prince. That's my theory.
I don't know whether it's like at the same time, but just looking
the
at
same
Sanji,
time, damn it.
Looking at Sanji with the blonde hair and the suit and
he dresses very well.
Sort of the well dressedness. You could make the argument that he looked like a prince the whole time.
Oh my god, what if this is the explanation for why he dresses so well? Because he's like, yeah, I know you guys are little shits, but I'm a royal, so fuck you, I'm gonna look fancier than everybody.
Well,
maybe that's just subconsciously, way deep down, he likes to look fancy. I don't know, kind of cool.
I guess.
I always wondered why he liked to dress fancy, because nobody else did, not even on the
Nobody
Barati.
else on the Barati, they're all just chefs, and he found a suit or bought a suit, I don't know where he got it. They obviously... I mean, I think I at one point I assumed that this, because he was like a ship boy, a kitchen boy, cooking boy on a fancy ship, that he saw people with suits a lot. So he's like, those are cool.
It was a very fancy ship. That's true. Yeah, like there were a lot of sexy ladies and cool dresses and guys looking all spiffy. Oh, and by the way, I wanted to say this before, but when he was the very end of the chapter is when Sanji's been locked away in the basement, and he's got the iron mask put on him. Like, his cries of, like, just, Dad, let me out, or Father, let me out, I'm sorry for being born a weakling, and just nobody gives a shit. So fucking brutal. And you know, this chapter, so I'd previously said that Reiju, I hated her and wanted her dead. I was playing into Oda's hand, he played me like a fiddle, because I know he wanted me to hate her back then and think she was just one of the bad guys. But, so I sympathize with her because she was put in a place where she had to play along with her brothers and bully Sanji, or she would also get bullied. But at the same time, also fuck her, because, like, we're making Nazi comparisons with these guys, right? Like, there were a lot of quote-unquote, you know, good people who were Nazi soldiers, but they still, you know, they didn't want to kill all the Jews or, like, do any of the fucked up shit they did, but they did it because they were ordered to.
You don't know that.
Hey, you know, I'm just saying, I'm theorizing
You don't know.
You're right, they probably all wanted to. But in theory, there could be some soldiers who didn't want to kill people, but they did it anyway because, like, if they didn't, they would die. But, you know,
I mean, that's true for every, like, evil dictatorship thing.
Sometimes you gotta die instead of murdering people. And the same principle applies here. Sometimes you gotta get bullied so as to not be a bully.
Like, that's not the same for every dictatorship. That's just the same for, like, being in a place where you got a gun and somebody's controlling what you do.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
You could be told to kill little babies, but you might not want to.
Yep. I mean, Sanji was kind of a little baby back then. I bet they would have killed him. Well, I guess they would have just locked him away for life. I don't know. Anyway, okay. So that pretty much covers the events of the chapter. But I do want to get back to the discussion we brought up earlier. Okay. So with the introduction of genetic manipulation and the revelation that Sanji is in fact a genetically, I mean, enhanced, but it didn't necessarily work out that way, but he's a genetically enhanced human being. Okay, so first of all, that is a big, like, tone change for both the series to me, because now it's kind of getting all this, like, what is a human being, kind of philosophical stuff, like, what is it that makes humans human, and, like, what are they changing about, what are the Vinsmoke children now that they've been modified? Like, what conditions do they have?
One part of the, like, progress report that really unsettled me was, like, talking about an outer skeleton growing.
Yeah, what the fuck was that? I have no idea what that means.
What they mean is just, like, really strong skin or something, but it was really gross sounding. I don't like it.
Wait a second, hang on. Remember how Poison Girl could suck poison out of Luffy? That seems like a superpower. Then you know, Reiju. Reiju sucked that poison out of Luffy when he was dying. That seems like, I mean, we would have thought devil fruit, but maybe that's just a fucking superpower.
Damn.
Well, we don't actually know that's a devil fruit. She just did that, and it could just be, quote unquote genetic enhancement.
Oh, it could be like a immunity to stuff. They could never be weakened by natural forces. They've got the. Well, they can't even get AIDS. They can't.
Well, she definitely can't get AIDS. She can fuck anybody. But I'm just saying, like, maybe her power was like a specific, like X-Men style mutation that they gave her.
Or like they
like
deliberately
gave her
a specific thing, and the others have specific things as well.
That's what I'm thinking might be true. And I wasn't really looking, but I don't know if Electric Boy Niji like used superpowers to make that electricity appear, or if he just used some equipment like his dad did when he was fighting Sanji. I kind of want to go back and check that because I'm not sure
Let's go back.
Which way that's going.
You can click away.
Okay, you do that. But while you're doing that, I feel a little bit unnerved about the character of Sanji now, and it's for a couple of reasons. So now that we know Sanji is 100% a genetically engineered human being, it requires almost an entire re-examination of the character. If you want to like understand what this character has done, like what of their own agency, what kind of person is this character versus like what were they engineered to be? And furthermore, it really raises the question of like free will and like is Sanji okay? So let's say for example, it does, because think about this: if it comes down to it, and Sanji is fighting his brothers, let's say Sanji loses. That means, I mean, in theory, that would mean Sanji is like he was programmed weaker, he's a shit guy, like he is genetically inferior, he always will be, and that kind of affects the tone of the character. Like he's a failure, he's a shit dude. But what if he beats them? Like let's just say one-on-one, Sanji's up against his brothers. If Sanji beats them, what does that imply about who Sanji is? Because does that mean that what if from the very start Judge had actually programmed Sanji and maybe didn't realize it or fucking forgot or something? Like Sanji was the long-term dude. Like Sanji went his whole life, had all these life experiences, and then like over time he got good and learned these things. And like if he's stronger than them now, like what does that say about like what he was able to choose for his own? Was he programmed to do the things he did in his life? Did he fucking...
you'd be looking a little too deep into like
you can't look too deep into this shit.
How the genetics work, because I think that the point is that they were given like massive potential, and Sanji just
but what does
failed
that mean? What does that mean though?
It meant like they could very quickly become like as strong as adults as children. That's what they were saying. But
so
Sanji was just still the strength of a child.
But based on that model, they would only just be strong children and would like cap out once they were adults, right? And it sounds like Garmin Man wants super ubermenches,
I mean, they are super duper dupers. The thing is, like, Sanji's been like training his whole life, being like the waiter, and then with the Luffy, and then the 2 years on the gay place.
Yeah.
He's been really strong training. Like, if he does manage to beat one of them, I think it doesn't say that his programming allowed him to do that. I mean, we've seen characters that are normal humans that just are able to do all that cool shit without devil fruits or, the abilities of humans are like very high anyway. Like the idea that you're enhancing them is just making it easier, I guess.
See, that's where that helped me crystallize, I think, a thought that had been bumping around in my head. So, like, what this is a very strange thing to do tonally in One Piece, because, like you said, One Piece characters have extremely high, every character, no matter who you are or what you look like, have an extremely high like skill and strength ceiling. Like, look at Luffy; he's like a skinny little string bean, and yet he can bench like 1 billion pounds and is faster than the speed of light. And like, how did he do that? I don't know. Well, he just really worked really hard.
He took a bite of gum.
Yeah, that's right. That's all he did. But like, compare that to like the Vinsmoke kids. Like, they don't really seem, based on what we've seen yet, like as strong as Luffy. Like, what have they done? Like, we saw them jump around. Like it's just we saw like Edward Weeble the other day, the new Shichibukai boy. He like destroyed an entire.
Why do you think they're not as strong as Luffy? I mean, they've been shown to like destroy entire kingdoms by themselves.
Okay, but that's the terminology was a little vague. They like ended the war and there was destruction. So like, did they do it by themselves? It's not really clear.
I mean, like someone like
they probably brought their
soldiers. Could probably defeat like 200,000 people on his own.
Okay. Here's my real point. I have not yet seen really the tangible benefits of this genetic engineering on these, supposedly vastly superior human beings. And it's kind of like how fishmen in One Piece are supposedly 100 times stronger than an average human, and yet that never really seems to matter. Like, it matters when they're fighting, like, Usopp, but Usopp beat the fishmen he was fighting, so, like, who's actually stronger?
I think
it's weird, you know?
What it really
Tonally,
means...
it's strange.
I think I mean, especially with the fisherman thing,
Yeah.
like, I think it's just that they have a very high... what do you call it, skill or power floor. Like, it's impossible for them to be weaker than a certain amount. And they can be incredibly strong.
Yeah.
So it's like, every fishman is at least 100 times stronger than a human, but a human can still be stronger than a fishman.
I
And
see
with
what
this
you're
genetically
saying.
advanced stuff, these kids, they're able to, like, beat the shit out of, like, grown men as, like age 8 or whatever.
Uh-huh.
So the skill floor is, the power floor is very high. But if they hadn't trained properly, or if they just, like, been lazy, or I don't know, they wouldn't have gotten further than, I don't know.
Okay,
I'm just saying
I see what you're saying.
They're starting at a high place and they're going forward, but if you work harder than they do, then you'd still beat them if you're just a normal human. Is what the idea that I'm getting.
I see what you're saying. I guess, and you know, that all makes sense, and that seems reasonable. And it's just that this whole thing seems a little odd to me, because One Piece has shown that, like, training hard and, like, lifting weights, or whatever the fuck Luffy does, works so fucking well at getting you incredibly powerful. It really, really works. So, like, in the world of One Piece, it seems strange to me that, like, this genius guy would, like, go through all these fucking hoops to make clone soldiers when, like, if you just lift, you can get, like, super fucking strong. You can be like Rayleigh if you just train for, like, you know, decades or whatever, which obviously the guy's prepared to do since he's making clones and building labs. That's really what it comes down to.
We won't know until, like, both of them get serious in a fight, like Sanji and Onigi
That's
or
true.
whatever.
That's true. And yeah, so right. Yeah, so those are my concerns. Oh, and by the way, okay, so that's all right. That's enough of that. That's all interesting, and I'm really looking forward to hearing how that resolves. But by the way, about Sanji's mom. So, you know, before I was saying maybe she existed, you know, maybe she didn't. She probably did. It'll most likely be she was real. We'll get a flashback to her. That's the way One Piece normally goes, so that's reasonable to expect. But we still have not yet seen. We understand the cooking thing is established, right? That's in the books, basically, no matter what happens. But chivalry, Sanji's extreme chivalry, is still, as of yet, not explained. And that, to me, is even more important than the cooking thing. So I'm just saying, I need confirmation as to why.
All right, I don't have confirmation yet, but I think part of it would probably be that his sister isn't the one that kept beating him up, but his brothers did. So, like, that could have been where it started. Like, he likes her more because she secretly tells him that I don't hate you like the others. I'm doing it pretend, but I gotta laugh. So he, you know, she's like comforting him in, you know, when he's all beat up. So I guess, like, that would be where it began, and from there it's just sort of, I don't know.
I suppose feels a little wishy-washy to me. I
we
actually
gotta
more
get more
subscribe.
information, but that's where
all right.
That's
true. That's fair. Though I personally am leaning more towards your theory of his mom was abused, and in some way or another. Well, I mean, we don't know, but we'll see. And it's going to be my theory that she was abused or something bad happened to her. Sanji either directly or indirectly found out, and it made a big impression on him to, like, never hurt women. You know what? Based on this cooking thing that was addressed, I think Oda will do it. I don't think he's going to forget. He seems like he's on top of shit. So, man, and he's doing things I did not think we would see in One Piece. Fucking DNA, genetic manipulation, shit, clones.
I mean, yeah,
they're all clones.
Even if you think, like, the whole cloning thing is, like, that seems tonally odd for One Piece. A lot of things, like, used to feel tonally odd for One Piece until they were introduced and they became just part of the world. Like, I'm just saying, like, the fact that he's adding new stuff even this late in the game is really cool. Like, he's still being creative with things.
It is cool, and I'm glad he's doing things like that. And I guess I should say, maybe tonally isn't the right word. It's just kind of based on the rules of One Piece and, like, how effective, you know, like, training has been shown to be. It seems a little bit out of place. It just seems odd to me that, like, a genius like this guy would choose this route when the other one is, like, the results are demonstrable about how good lifting weights works in One Piece for getting superpowers. But that's okay. We can come back to that another time. Man, whew, a lot of shit in this chapter. That was intense. That was fun. And I hope you had fun, listeners.
Yeah.
Leave a like on this web zone. Mail me for a punch in the face, and I'll give you one on your birthday. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Lord Judge, it appears that Lord Sanji is simply a normal, regular, human being.
Fucking normies!